Welcome. I'd like to call this meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections to order, and the time is 3 p.m. At this time, I'd like to invite all those who are willing and able to please rise for the pledge. Our first order of business today is the approval of the agenda. I assume everybody's had a chance to look things over. I know we've all talked about a few things. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda as presented today? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Let's go ahead and all those in favor, please vote. And the agenda is approved 5-0. We now move to the public comment portion of our meeting, and as our new normal is, we will turn it over to our legal counsel, Mr. White, to facilitate.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Tonight, we have 5 individuals signed up for virtual public comment and 7 for in-person, and so I'm going to try to rotate those. The time limit tonight is going to be 3 minutes, or this afternoon is going to be 3 minutes. I will try to remember to. We're going to start with virtual public comment, and that will be Perrin Cheda will be the first one. But I'm going to let the next in-person person know so that they can start making their way up. And so the first in-person comment after the first virtual comment will be Andy Kingery. And just as a reminder, this is a limited public forum. The purpose of this public comment period is to be able to hear for this board to be able to hear comments about elections in Cobb County. So we do ask that you keep your comments limited to that topic. Thank you. So at this time, I will ask if Mr. Perrin Cheda is online and available to start his comments. Mr. Cheda, are you there? Perrin Cheda?
Try again.
Mr. Cheda, can you hear me? Are you there? I think I heard something. Mr. Cheda, are you available to make your comment? All right, we'll go ahead and go to Mr. Kingery and we'll circle back.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Andy Kingery. I am in Elizabeth 01. I'm also the chair of the Cobb County GOP Election Integrity Committee. I want to talk to you about this election we had on November 4th. I had the opportunity to visit 15 different precincts across the county with a statewide poll watcher credential. I want you to know that everything was pretty darn good. There were a couple of things we'll speak about, but in almost every location, the poll managers were confident in what they had and what they were doing, and I didn't see any voter confusion, and I saw very few flare-ups of anything. So it's overall very good news. Only 3 locations that I visited had what I would call a long line, with 10 people or more. One was at the Vinings Library, which could have been attributed to a scanner issue that they had. The Linked Up Church had 38 people in line when I visited. They were all indoors, though, because the place was so big. It wasn't a huge problem, but that was one of the longer lines. We'll talk about the Thompson Community Center in just a second. I found, talking to poll managers, that there was very little confusion from voters over the co-locations, which is one of the things I wanted to look at, most specifically. They seemed confident with it. The voters seemed okay. There were some people that had to go to their old place and reassign and come in, but pretty much it was as you probably imagined it would be. The flow I observed was steady, moderate, and a little more than people were anticipating, but it was a very good turnout as the numbers shown. Equipment was mostly sufficient, a couple of issues here and there, and each time I encountered something, I was assured that it had been called in, a technician was on the way, it would be cleared up. I didn't see any people turned away because of equipment issues. Thompson Community Center, you guys know it more than I do probably, but I was there shortly after noon. There were 77 people queued up in a parking lot outside. The poll manager didn't have a lot of time to talk. They were frantically trying to set up a fourth poll pad and trying to accommodate. I called to the elections office and reported the problem. I know that the response was great. I didn't get to see the response, so I was on to something else. But the traffic situation was a real problem. People were backing up a one-lane road, and you could either go in or out, and 5, 6 would come out, 5 or 6 would try to go in. The neighborhood served as another parking lot because people just got out of their cars and tried to walk in. The operations overall, I have to report as very good. Not excellent. Nothing goes perfectly. Boy, you guys have seen a list of things that got reported and taken care of. Very good. And that's my view of that election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kingery. Next, we're going to try Ms. Mindy Seeger online on virtual comment, and then after that, we'll have Christine Rosman in person. Ms. Seeger, are you available for your virtual comment?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You go ahead. You have 3 minutes. I think you went back on mute.
There we go. All right. Technology is great. Hi, my name is Mindy Seeger. I'm a Cobb County resident, and I wanted to first say congratulations again to the Cobb County Board of Elections and Registration for another successful election. And thank you for your efforts to try to urge our governor to co-host the upcoming special election for Senate District 35. To avoid the cost to Cobb taxpayers. I understand that request was denied, but I do applaud your efforts to try to save money and resources for Cobb County elections in the term of special elections. It feels like we have elections every few weeks here in Georgia, specifically in Cobb County, so I wanted to applaud you all for that. It was also noted earlier about the congestion at Thompson Community Center and the logistical issues that were had there. My understanding is this was a co-located precinct, and I know sometimes that cannot be avoided, but understanding that this was an election with roughly 25% or so turnout, and it has me concerned for future elections where turnout numbers may be higher if we're having to continue to commingle some precincts due to issues at the precinct, ADA compliance issues and the like, and the move out of schools, because what that forces us to is churches that are not always able to host us as well. And I know this is an ongoing challenge. So I just want to urge the board to continue to look for facilities and ways that we can try to limit this and limit these long lines and traffic problems for these precincts and the surrounding communities and for the voters. I know that this was an issue on Election Day. It's my understanding as well that the Young Dems chapter president here in Cobb County also spoke with the police to navigate that traffic there at the end of the day so that those voters could be considered to be in line by 7 p.m. so that they could exercise their right to vote. I know this is important to you all as it is important to the community, and I just wanted to, again, express my thank yous for the efforts that are being made, and also ask that we look at this, any of the issues that we had, especially the Thompson Community Center for commingling precincts, and how we can handle that better to serve the community. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Next, we'll have in person from Christine Rosman.
Hello, Chair and board members. Christine Rosman. First, I'd like to say thank you for the staff because they have had a lot of elections in 2025, a hell of a lot of elections. And especially then going into concurrent elections and runoffs, and that they have done an extremely good job. It's had hiccups, but there's a lot of pressure when you have a lot of things going on, which could have been avoided, but unfortunately. the whole home rule thing, and then Governor Kemp making some decisions to whatever. So thank you for getting it all done. The other thing is that on a kind of comical note is I'm wondering if we can win the Guinness Book of World Records for the number of days, voting days, in a state or county for the United States. And unfortunately, probably costing the taxpayers a whole heck of a lot of money too. Now, I'm in Ward 6. We didn't have any runoffs there. And I would be interested in seeing if, I would like to see certain candidates get elected. And I am interested in knowing what the early voting is going to look like. And also, one more thing, and I did bring it to the attention, is a lot of people where I live in Ward 6 and Marietta 6B, they didn't even know that there was an election for a school board member, even though that was for, we're in Ward 6, but they didn't know until they got to the ballot or to cast their vote that there was actually a vote there. So if you can change that so that people that are in the city of Marietta, that they know that, because it said 0, it said school board 0. So I think that can be confusing, and so I think that would be something really awesome to, on the next go-round when they send out the voter cards. And also is that it's going to be really ironic if Parancheta comes in after me and criticizes me the whole time, because that's what he did last time. Never even said anything about the board and focused on me. So anyway, thank you for your time.
All right, the next virtual commenter is Donna Court. After Donna, we will hear from Donald Barth. Donna's not on. Okay, Donna's not on. Let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and have Mr. Barth come on up, and I'll just keep going back and forth, even though folks might not be online.
Good afternoon, Donald Barth. I want to congratulate you. For the most part, I live in Marietta, and everything went smooth. I was able to go in, vote, and no problems whatsoever. I was also over hanging out with Cheryl Richardson, Councilwoman Cheryl Richardson again, and we were at the backside of Victory Drive watching that precinct and waving signs. But again, the election went favorable for my candidates anyway, so I'm glad we had a good election. There's been some problems with the board and its attorney on past elections, and this time I don't see any problem. I just hope that people get involved. The people out in listening to us know that y'all are here to work for them and do the right thing. So thank you for what y'all do.
Our next virtual commenter will be Chatori Scott, and then the next in-person will be Mike Benz. Is Chatori Scott online?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Your time is starting now.
Okay, thank you. It's going to be pretty short. This is actually my very first time attending one of these, and I want to thank you guys for having me. I am here to speak about the removal of virtual commenting and attending to these meetings. As I said, this is my very first time, and I'm getting more involved in the community and things that are happening in my city and on my road, which is Franklin Gateway, formerly known as Franklin Road, and doing a lot of advocating for my neighbors as well. So I would like for that not to be removed, because I did see I saw an uptick in the amount of votes and early voting from the younger community, and as well as the older community as well. And so for the people that are maybe like me, that are stay-at-home moms, or the older community who are disabled and are not able to get out and come to these meetings. I think that this right here is very vital for us to be able to still take part in the things that are being done for our town, and for us to be able to put some input in. As Donald did say, I stay in Marietta as well, and the voting was really, it was a breeze. But I voted on October 15th, which was early voting, so it was very, very easy to get in and out of there. And other than that, that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Our next in-person commenter is Mike Benz.
Thank you, Mike Benz, resident of Cobb County. Just grateful. Wanted to say thank you. You may not hear that often enough for appears to be a well-run election. There are always glitches, and also for things that have been asked for prior, things such as keeping Sunday voting and the 7 to 7 voting for the primaries and that sort of thing. So I am concerned about perhaps the reduction in the opportunity for people to speak virtually, and I'm not sure what the economic costs are. I realize there is something to that, but I think that would be helpful if there was, and that's just something recently that's come up, so I'm not even sure if that's something that there would be numbers on that would explain why that would be the item to cut, since it is important for people to feel like they have access. There may be an option of perhaps having people submit things in questions in writing or statements in writing beforehand, but I think that just loses a lot of its impact when people are not allowed to speak and for their benefit and ours. But thank you once again for your work.
All right, our next virtual comment will be from Nicholas Brown, and then after that, our next in-person will be Elizabeth Hendrickson. Mr. Brown, are you available?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead. Your time starts now.
Hi, yes. My name's Nicholas Brown. I'm a current resident of Marietta, Georgia. I was just wanting to first preface this by saying thank you for a very smooth and efficient election. It got through very quickly from my perspective, but my main problem that I would like to bring to the board today comes from my personal is I live in Ward B, but my voting election was in Ward 5A. And I think that kind of shows a huge thing with the current voter turnout. We saw one of the highest voter turnouts, especially for a special election, roughly seeing about 34% of the voting age population actually showing up for a special election in Marietta. But I feel like we could have actually had even more of a voter turnout if we had more accessibility for people voting. Possibly, I've passed by another voting position or place, which was Shady Grove Baptist Church on the way to Turner Chapel. I think I also passed another one. I can't remember the name of that polling location during this election either. But I do find that it's interesting that even though I live in Ward 6B and I was voting still on Ward 6 elections, I was still having to drive about 20 minutes to get to Ward 5A to actually place my vote. But that is my main predicament and just something I wanted to bring to the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Hendrickson?
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Hendrickson, and I'd like to concur with the previous speakers that it's important to hear from everyone. I'm privileged enough to be able to get here to speak to you in person, but I know there are many others who would like to, who either temporarily or permanently can't, due to work, due to medical issues that are temporary, but that at the moment don't allow them to come here. And I hope that we'll be able to find a way to keep that. I'd also like to thank the board and the elections department for all their hard work during the recent election. I had the privilege of visiting 15 or 20 polling locations across Cobb on November 4th, and I observed so many encouraging scenes. Voters who were polite and patient with longer than anticipated lines, even helping the elderly or mobility impaired to the front of the line. Poll watchers from both parties quietly observing the process. Poll workers who were unfailingly professional, efficient, patient, and friendly, maintaining a pleasant atmosphere despite any glitches while addressing the issues and despite extra long hours in some locations. Voters, in response to questions from their children saying, "We have to make our voice heard." Poll workers and officials thanking voters for coming and for their patience. Voters thanking poll workers and anybody else they encountered, including me, for their help. After the polls closed, polite, friendly encounters at the elections office, not only with elections workers, but with observers from both parties, several candidates, and members of this board. Seeing so many people pulling together to keep the elections process moving is gratifying, and I appreciate all who contribute. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak and for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Hendrickson. We're going to circle back and see if Parancheta is online now. Nope, he's not available. All right, and then we'll do one more check for Donna Court. Is Donna Court available? No. Okay, then we'll just finish out our in-person list. Matt Stiegel.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Matt Segal, and first off, I want to thank every single one of you up there, also every poll worker, poll watcher, everyone involved in these elections. It seems like we're doing them quite often right now, and it seems that there's always an election going on, which can cause a lot of confusion, and I know it's very tiring and trying for everyone involved. But it looked like elections went mostly pretty smooth. I do want to thank everyone involved for that. I do have a couple of issues that I see just looking at how everything operates. Number one being the location of the polling locations. I don't think it's, well, I think it's very interesting that you have a Ward 4 in Marietta that has 3 precincts that feed into it, but then you have Wards 1 and 7 in Marietta that only have 1 precinct. Which basically means that a lot of those people in those precincts must travel much farther, and that's even multiplied by the fact that in Ward 7, and a lot of other precincts in Marietta, their precinct locations are located outside of the boundaries of that precinct. In addition to that, you also have the maps of the precincts don't match the map of the wards. So you have voters in, for instance, in precinct 2A, they might be voting for an election in Ward 3, or vice versa. There might be people who might think that they're in Ward 3 because they're in a precinct, either 3A or 3B, but they might be voting in a Ward 2 election, for instance. And so making sure that the precinct maps match the maps of the wards, I think would help make it much more simpler to where, if you're voting in Ward 3, it's either precinct 3A or precinct 3B voting in that, voting for that ward. But overall, I do think that, the election went very smoothly. Everything went very well. And the only thing I would like to add is that I do have the privilege of being able to make these comments in person. I'm well aware of many people who do not have that privilege, whether it's transportation issues, they must be at work. This meeting's happening in the middle of the afternoon on a weekday where most people do have work obligations, especially if they're paid hourly. And it's just, there's so many barriers to try to get to this meeting that the removal of virtual public comment, when other boards also are removing opportunity for either public comment or the live streaming of public comment. It's just crazy that in this day and age where we are becoming more technology advanced and transparency is much more and more important, we're stripping some of those features and those opportunities for people to be more connected with the, with our bodies, our oversight bodies, our regulatory bodies and things like that, and I think that being able to use the technology that everyone's used to using to be able to make public comment and be transparent to see what's actually happening with our elections, school board, many other bodies, I think is very important. So thank you for your time and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Stegall. Our last speaker tonight or today would be Melissa East.
Hi, good afternoon. Again, thank you again for staff here and those that were here at the, all of the different polling locations across the county. Again, to reiterate what everybody has said before, it was a very smooth process. Obviously, there's going to be issues that pop up, but I appreciate everybody's willingness to jump in and make sure that they were solved and so that everybody got to vote in that election. I recently completed the Cobb 101 Citizen Government Academy, so I'm continuing my work of getting more involved and getting and learning experience. And I'd like to raise 3 concerns. Many of those have already been discussed, but just again to reiterate those. A lot of the polling locations in Marietta are not in the wards that they serve. They're far away. Some of them are not even within the city limits, and I understand the complexity of trying to request, especially with how many elections we've had, having locations be open, churches, schools, whatever those are and everything. And I understand that it takes a lot of negotiating on your side and a lot of coordinating. So just wanting to make sure that we reiterate that, you know, Ward 7 voters have to go all the way to the Civic Center, and that's a far drive from Windy Hill. A lot of those people are in apartments. We have transportation in the county, but it comes every hour. And so just making sure that people are able to vote and having the opportunity so that we can increase our voter turnout. I know from my class that we have 93% of people that are of voting age in the county registered to vote, but we only have 30% that are showing up for these municipal and local elections. So getting that voter turnout, getting them knowledgeable, and then, you know, again, having the ability to go and vote in their polling locations and making that efficient would be super helpful for them. Again, concerned about the multiple election dates, the runoffs, the taxpayer dollars that costs, also the additional burden that comes with for you guys, because there's a lot of elections, obviously, and there's only so many days in the year. And just want to make sure that we are consolidating the election dates where possible, and I just continue trying to request that from the state level. And then third, I want to make sure that we keep virtual public comment available so that, you know, today I'm off work because I was supposed to be traveling, and I'm not, so I'm here today, and I was able to make this meeting, but typically I'm never able to make a 3 p.m. meeting. And I understand that you guys also work a 9 to 5, so obviously you don't want to come at 7 p.m. necessarily for a meeting, but just trying to request that we make this process open and transparent for all of the residents in Cobb County. And I appreciate your time, and thank you again for allowing me to comment.
Missy, that's all the comment we had signed up for today.
Just want to thank everybody who participated, and that concludes the public comment portion of our meeting today.
Madam Chair, I think it might be appropriate, just so there isn't misconceptions about a couple of things. Can you explain that the Marietta precincts were redistricted?
Go for it.
And
You
that
You want me to talk about it?
I would love for
Yeah,
you to
let's-
talk about it. You live in Marietta. I don't know where 7A is, but it sounds like it's a ways. But would you just explain that we didn't actually draw the boundaries?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Fair, yeah, that's fine, Jan.
There's two things at play here. One, in terms of precinct locations in Marietta, Marietta does draw their own ward maps. They also request, you know, the precincts within those locations. So, some of that is, you know, it's turnout driven, and so I mean, there's just there's 3 places in Ward 4 because that's just that much turnout in Ward 4. And I only have 2 in Ward 2, and so that are in precinct 2A and 2B, and so that's how that works. But I think some of this was discussed. I don't know how much of it was discussed in depth publicly, but because of redistricting, the way it happened, the redistricting wasn't able to happen in Marietta until March of, the maps were submitted in March of this year, and because there was an election in every single month until July. I mean, May wasn't, but it kind of at the end of April and the beginning of June, there was an election, and you can't really redistrict or do redistricting in Jarvis, the system, while there's an active election running in the county. The Marietta maps had to wait until really mid-July before they could be implemented, and so there was a sort of a delay in the normal schedule of entering the redistricting maps. That's also the time once you enter the redistricting maps, if there are precinct changes, which would line those precincts up with their wards, which happens, most every 10 years, and it happened in 2012. That has to be advertised for 30 days, and then the change has to be final 60 days before the election. So because of the delay in being able to redistrict, we were already within the 90-day window to be able to change the precincts to match up with the ward map. So there was a handful, there were slivers of, because of the maps shifted around for the wards, and the precincts stayed in the same place. There were slivers of voters that might be a 5A precinct, but voting in, Ward 4, or might be, or I'm sure which way the rotation worked, but there were pockets of voters that were voting at, like 6A, but they were voting for Ward 5 candidates. And that's going to be corrected as soon as I think it'll probably be put on that has to be approved by the county commissioners, not by this board, but in counties over 400,000, precinct changes have to be approved by the county commission. So Marietta has requested those. They're going to be made as soon as they can legally be made, and that will do I think the anticipation is we'll hopefully get that to them in January, so that by early next year, we'll get those precincts lined up. Nobody's more frustrated than this board and the City Council of Marietta that it wasn't able to happen on time, but some of it was due to most of the other cities redistricted in 2023. Marietta's didn't really need to be redone until 2025, so they got a little later start, and then there was a gap in getting the map over to the county. So if we had it to do over, we would have done it even earlier, but just because of the way the calendar worked out this year. But I'm unaware, I was listening very closely on election day for anybody who said, hey, I thought I voted for these candidates and I showed up at the wrong precinct. We didn't hear if anybody that I know of that wasn't able to vote either at their precinct or for the candidates they thought they were. And I think multiple board members and community members also noticed the issue about the precinct card saying 0. I believe that was a reference to the county school board district, which is 0. And if staff would go back, next time we'll look at that and say that we need to either take that out or put city school district, because there was a thing on there for which ward you were in, which actually matches up with your council ward, but that wasn't entirely clear to voters. So I think those are the 3 issues that maybe we needed to cover based on comment, but just the precincts and the wards are requested by Marietta. They are put in place, and we do recommend them to the county commission. The county commission will approve them, but just because of the way the insane election schedule this year and the inability to redistrict while those elections were running, things got delayed, and those things should line up for starting next year. So hopefully there'll be a little less confusion for voters in Marietta in 4 years when this happens again.
Thank you for that. And for those of you who did speak about that issue, just to be perfectly clear, we will not approve those precinct changes, right? So you should also take your public comments to the Board of Commissioners when that comes up in January. Make sure they hear that as well. The next item, Debbie, was there anything else on that matter that you wanted to add?
No, I just thought it would be a great opportunity. Sorry. I think I'll just leave it on. I thought it would be a great opportunity to educate the voters. Everything isn't always as it seems. So no, thank you, Daniel, for that explanation.
The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the meetings, from the October 6th special called meeting, which was our board orientation, and the October 13th, 2025 regular meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any corrections or changes that need to be added? Stacy? All good? Good. Great. Do we have a motion to approve? Do we want to just approve both sets of minutes, and do we have a motion to do so?
Motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Great.
Second.
All those in favor? And the motion carries 5-0. The minutes are approved. I don't know if everybody noticed, but I did sort of shuffle the agenda a little bit this time so that we could handle certification right out the gate. And so we will start with Michael's director's report and then move into certification.
Just wait on this. There we go. All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's been an interesting few weeks. Of course, Election Day was overall a success. I think we tend to focus on all the negative things, and I think that's good, because that helps us improve the areas that we want to improve on. But definitely the negatives outshined the great things that happened, and a lot of great things happened. And I want to give my hats off to the crew here at this table and everyone back at the office and all the poll workers, because it was a tough day. It was a tough day. It was a lot of turnout. We did not anticipate that amount of turnout, but a handful of precincts had some small mistakes, but 130 plus had a great day. So I just want to congratulate them on a successful election. So advanced in person, we saw just under 40,000, 39,979. Of course, it's great to hear that Marietta had a great time voting. Of course, they had the most turnout, followed up by, shockingly, East Cobb Government Center. Wasn't expecting that one to be in second place. I want to note Smyrna. We have talked about this. We'll definitely make sure moving forward that we have representation as far as an advanced voting location in that city moving forward. I think our assessment initially, based on they were not having a municipal election, kind of guided us on that decision. But it shows that 1 week of overlap with the November 4th election and the November 18th, with nearly 4,000 people showing up in that 1 week. And actually, that was more turnout than we had some for 3 weeks of early voting. So we'll definitely take that into consideration. But overall turnout, Marietta was the highest, much more than I thought there would be, but so that's great. And it was pretty steady throughout the 3 weeks. It started to slow down a little bit towards the end, but then of course the last few days it always picks back up. So, okay, breakdown of absentee by mail. So ballots returned, we had regular and provisional with 1,233. Of that 1,233, we accepted 1,174. Now make sure you pay attention to that number, 1,174. We did have 59 rejected, so if you do the math there, that adds up on that. Next one, CP. Okay, so we have our official and complete results. For Election Day, ballots cast 84,840. I believe that was the same number that we showed during pre-cert. Now the numbered list, this is where you're going to see some of the discrepancies. If you look there, we have a discrepancy of 15. Pretty much spent the last few days trying to figure out where those discrepancies are. Today it was a lot of meeting of the minds between us trying to distinguish where this occurs. And the things, if you look at the notes at the bottom, this is kind of where we're at with these discrepancies. So we did have reports of 7 abandoned ballots. So that's where they find a ballot laying on a printer, somebody came, voted, and just never took their ballot to the scanner. So that explains seven of the discrepancies, leaving us with 8. So we kind of went back and forth looking at different lists, trying to figure out where these ballots are coming from, or where these, I should say, check-ins are coming from. We did find that there were several precincts that reported no abandoned ballots, but they had more check-ins than they had ballots cast. And ironically, that totaled up to be 8, which is the missing number that we have here. So at this point, in being able to investigate the results, I can only deduce that there were 8 people that didn't cast their ballot, that checked in and didn't cast their ballot, or they either abandoned it somehow, or they left the precinct with it still in their possession. I'm going to do a little more digging, but it's a little bit higher than what we would typically see every election. We do see people walk out with their ballots. That's a little more than normal, but again, there was a little more turnout than we expected as well. So that's kind of where we're at with Election Day. Advanced voting was spot on. $39,979. Now, back to the absentee by mail figure from the previous slide of 1,174. So here you'll see that ballots cast is 1,172, but we have 1,174 on their numbered list. The reason for that is, and we went into this a little bit on the pre-cert, is the one unscannable ballot. So this ballot was returned to us, but the precinct information at the top of the ballot was missing, and the code that ties that ballot to a precinct at the bottom was missing. So the only portion that's there is the vote. And there's no way we can duplicate that to tie it up to a precinct. So that cannot be counted. They're checked in and given credit, but there's no ballot cast because we can't scan it. And then the other one, unfortunately, is kind of a confusion with how EMS is set up, how the state system works. So that also includes the one provisional, but that provisional is counted within the provisionals, not with absentee by mail. So with that one unscannable ballot and that one provisional cured, that's how the check-ins got to 1174, but the ballots cast are 1172. So for provisionals, on Provisional Friday, we had a total of 185. And like I just mentioned, we had the one absentee by mail and then 184 election day. So that ties up 185 for ballots cast and 185 on the numbered list. So of course, we have a turnout of 126,176. And then a discrepancy with 126,186. Turnout just a hair under 25%. Still upcoming, this Thursday we have our RLA. It will start at 9 a.m. in our main advanced voting room. We have 9 teams ready to go to start the risk limiting audit. And then also this Wednesday at 9 a.m., we have an enhanced image ballot. I believe we did it last year. So after certification, there's a series of things we have to go and do. And basically, the system where we're reporting our results, there's a tool in there where they can audit the images towards the reporting and kind of line up the optical scans to what the readable text said. So it just kind of audits there, and it's pretty automated. It'll kind of break everything down. It tells you if everything matches up, it's all good, and then it'll break down into account of, you know, this many have been tallied. You need to take a look at 1 or 2. I think last time we really didn't have any issues with it at all, so I expect the same this time. And that's it. Any questions?
I do have a question. Is the numbered list from Jarvis or No Ink?
Well, I think it's kind of the same thing, but the one that I emailed to you is the one that we received from No Ink.
Oh, you emailed me?
Yeah, I saw your email. It was just maybe 30 minutes before the
yeah.
meeting started, but yes, you guys have that.
So the numbers on your report are No Ink's numbered list?
It's a combination of several different numbers, but we look at different reports. So we look at Jarvis, we look at No Ink.
Okay. You don't go just off of one list? I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
I know that.
This is
In the
at least how I've done it.
Let me,
yeah.
just for clarity, in the past, No Ink has, according to the Secretary of State, has been the official numbered list. And in the past, those two haven't always matched, Jarvis and No Ink. So thus my questions on which one we're using.
So the stuff that I used No Ink based on off my research. But I do know when we first started, come Friday of last week, we were using the Jarvis credit
Because
report.
we didn't have No Ink.
Correct.
Right. Okay, thank you.
But No Ink's list is the official numbered list for the state. We just didn't have that one yet. Is that?
Correct. And then they sent it a little after our meeting, but unfortunately, they sent us the wrong county.
Right.
And then, yeah, so
Can I have that one too?
if you'd like it.
I'm just kidding.
It was Columbia, so at least
Oh,
alphabetically, it was
yeah.
pretty close.
Okay. Columbia, Cobb, COCO. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Reggie, Kendall?
No.
All right. Well, the next stage is actually to certify. And so since, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, but should we take the certification as two separate, or should we combine?
You can do either way. You can certify both.
Your mic's
Both on
off.
the same board. I'm sorry. You can do it either way. You can certify them in one motion, or you can certify them separately. They are two separate elections, but I think they're here on one report. So as long as their motion covers both.
I think I would prefer to do it separately if everybody's in agreement, and just, I have paperwork that we all need to sign, since Reggie and Kendall, you guys are new to that, so make sure we do that before we leave. But I will entertain a motion to certify the municipal general election on November 4th.
I make a motion to certify the election, the municipal election on November 4th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Did you have something?
I have a discussion.
Okay, great. Go for
Okay.
it.
I emailed you all, but it was late, a late email. So I don't know if you saw it. On the Jarvis numbered list, because that is the one I had, I did a comparison on the Jarvis list to the Secretary of State's voter roll list, which I think was from November 3rd. It was from early November, and also a comparison to the October voter roll. And there were 47 voters who showed up with oddities. And I sent them to you. I checked, none of them would have affected the outcome of the election. Want to make that clear. But I also want to bring it up here because it does leave open discussions. There were 13 voters that were active voters, but on the Secretary of State voter roll, it shows that they are out of county. They don't live in Cobb, but it's a Cobb address. And we've had a couple that I've presented to you, Michael, on those. 5 were inactive and out of county, so why they voted is a bit of a question. Active and in county, on the Secretary of State's voter roll, it is missing the last vote date, and I'm not sure why that is, whether they've never maybe voted before, because we show it as this election. And then 6 voted that are not even on the voter roll. So I did want to bring that up for my fellow board members who don't support me on cleaning up the voter rolls, but 47 votes, especially in like these municipal elections, could have, they didn't, could make a difference.
I want to clarify that I do support accurate voter rolls, but I also recognize that, for instance, inactive voters are eligible to vote if they present proper ID when they show up at the polls. So an inactive voter being on the voter list is not a discrepancy in a voter.
It is a discrepancy when the Secretary of State says it's in Paulding, Baldwin, Pickens. You'll see it. You got the report. It's worth looking into. And it's not clear why it would be different from Jarvis, but it appears to be.
Are there other questions or comments regarding the certification? I believe we have a motion to certify the municipal elections. And all those in favor? And the elections are certified with a 5-0 vote. We will take a motion to certify the special Public Service Commission statewide race on November 4th.
I motion to certify the statewide Public Service Commission election from November 4th.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to certify the Public Service Commission race. All those in favor? And the motion carries 5-0. We have certified the November 4th elections. Thank you all. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing regarding a temporary polling location change for Smyrna 2A for the December 16th runoff election. And I will turn this over to Michael to present Exhibit A.
Give me 1 second to get my notes together. Okay, the office is asking the board we are requesting to approve a temporary polling location change for precinct Smyrna 2 Alpha to co-locate within precinct Smyrna 6 Alpha, which is the American Legion Post 160 in Smyrna. When we reached out to solidify all of the locations for the upcoming elections, this facility came back and basically just told us they had prior engagements that they had already made plans to do, so they were not going to be available. So this was the time for us to look into how we're going to approach these co-locations differently. I did have a chance to talk with our site survey team and kind of get into the nitty-gritty about things we need to be looking for now that maybe we overlooked. This was our number one proposed co-location. We had, I believe there were 3 other alternatives. However, those other 3 were not definites. There was still conversations need to be had, contracts to be drawn up, and with everything that's going on in the timeline, I think it was just in our best interest to go with Smyrna 6 Alpha, depending on the new checklist that we created, if these things added up and they could say it was an appropriate facility to host 2 larger precincts. We do have it at 0.6 miles from the current location. The active voters for Smyrna 2A is, and these numbers are a little bit off because they fluctuate, but 5,320, and for Smyrna 6A, a little over 5,000. So what we did is I kind of went back and we looked at what our checklist looked like for our ADA requirements by law, and then we kind of just took it a little step further, keeping Thompson Community Center in mind. What I did is I had them go out and reassess all of the co-located facilities for the upcoming elections. For the other ones, it's a little more straightforward because the entire precinct is not eligible for Senate District 35. In this scenario, the bulk of the voters will be co-locating. So, for Dobbins, I think it was maybe 5 voters. In this scenario, all, 5,000 for each precinct could show up. So a couple of things that we focused on was the traffic, the parking, the flow, the building itself. I will say that on site, this facility has in their parking lot about 64 parking spaces. I believe of those 64, there's about 4 or 5 that are already ADA accessible spots. But that's not a problem because we have our own signage, our own equipment that we can send out to create more. Additionally, there's about 200 extra parking spots in a parking lot right next door. The only thing is we would need signage just to let ADA voters know there's no accessibility if they park down there to get to the facility. So we would have to make sure that they get to the facility itself and park there. So we'll have an attendant, what we call an ADA attendant. We'll have them out there so they can help direct the traffic so they know if they are a disabled voter that they need to park in this parking lot because the overflow parking lot, if needed, there's no entryway for them. There's plenty of space inside. There is a slight bump from the parking lot to where you would enter. So we'll have to have a ramp there for the ADA requirements on that. That's a typical thing that we do. We send ramps out to any of the locations that, you know, the incline is higher than what the graded should be. There's a whole lot of information here. I don't want to have to bore you guys with all of the information, but I'm happy to share the new checklist and the full report on it. And this is hopefully, this is version 1. I hope to kind of enhance it and kind of make better versions of it. And as we get into it, we'll start implementing it and updating it, and that can be just a part of the normal process. But the last thing we want to do is to run into a situation like Thompson Community Center again. You know, as I was researching this, I looked back at the turnout for the presidential last year, and believe it or not, the turnout for Mableton 4 Charlie and Smyrna 7A combined was less than what showed up on November 4th of this year. You know, maybe we can attribute that to local races, and, you know, sometimes people care more about what's going on in their community versus, you know, the big picture. But either way, we can't make that excuse anymore. So, yes.
I have a couple questions.
One second. So we usually open up to a public hearing first before do we want to do that? Are you finished with the presentation?
Sure, yeah, that's.
Is that the presentation?
Yeah, well, I guess I have to, my recommendation is for the board to approve co-locating Smyrna 2A into Smyrna 6A.
Great. And then normally we would go right to public hearing, correct? I didn't mean to cut you off, Reggie.
No.
Yes?
I've got a question about that public hearing. Do we have to advertise that before we can hold it?
I think it was on the agenda.
Yeah, it's always on the agenda. Usually we allow people to speak to this particular
It was on the
presentation.
initial agenda we posted a week ago?
I think it was,
I don't
was it?
recall
should-
that
it
it was. It's
was.
highly possible because we had a little going on last week, but
Right. I'm pretty sure it went up with
Was
the,
it?
with the regular agenda.
it was. I see heads in the audience shake.
It was posted in MPJ.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Great. So if we have anybody from the public who would like to speak specifically to this precinct co-location, we would take those comments now. Going once? Going twice? Okay, we'll open the floor to the board. Reggie, you're up.
All right. Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to say, you know, Mike and, you know, the staff, the poll workers, everybody, y'all just did a tremendous job, you know, really just seeing how the sausage is made and how everything is how everything works. A lot goes on behind the scenes. And you know, just my hat's off to everyone and your staff and team. Now, with that being said, just to double down on what you said, you know, about, you know, what happened at the Thompson Park. With this, just for clarity for me, the American Legion, so you're saying roughly about 10,000 voters will be going through the Legion?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And I guess you already mentioned that you looked at other alternatives to make sure, you know, how many pads and things of that nature will be deployed at this American Legion? To accommodate the number of
Do you mean
voters?
equipment-wise?
Equipment-wise, yes, sir.
I don't have that figure. I want to say around 6 to 8 was the BMD count. We did go back and discuss adding more equipment. It just kind of, it's a little complicated since we've already completed the LNA for that. So they're in the process of bringing all the equipment back. So it's a little bit of a logistical problem, but we do plan to add some more equipment just to be safe. And pole pads as well.
Pole pads.
I think we were talking about 4 or 5 at every facility. And then I want to say it was 6 was the regular just a regular precinct, and then if they were co-located, I think we were doing 8. But I have to verify. But either way, we're looking at adding additional equipment. Of course, we just have to LNA it because we're getting the equipment back from another election, so it has to be reset, and then we got a tight timeline to turn that around.
Good. Now, was there any other polling places that, were probably more attractive than the American Legion?
I believe that, I don't have it in front of me. I think Smyrna Community Center was the next option. Of course, at the time, we were going back and forth with this. They weren't available. And then,
did we see if they're available now, or?
no, I mean, that conversation would have happened
Okay.
today if it were. Of course, we can go back. It just, it complicates things a little bit because then we're gonna have to have another meeting to do all that. But it's if that's what the board would like, we can go back and I can provide a list of the other locations. But, based on the assessment that I received, and then of course, I can provide this with you, I don't think it's gonna be a problem using this facility. Like I said, I was not familiar with Thompson Community Center. I'm very familiar with it now. But I was a little familiar with this, and I at least did see the pictures. They went out today, actually, and did another assessment. I just haven't had a chance to compile those pictures to provide you. But, walking it on Google Maps and looking at the aerial maps and the diagram of the setup, I think it's going to be okay to accommodate this size of turnout.
Okay.
I have questions. Thank you for this information. I am hesitant because, let me just clarify. I think you've answered this, but I just want to make sure it's clear in my mind. Of these voters listed for 2A and 6A, they're all eligible for SD 35. Is that correct?
So I have a total here. Now, this total includes inactive voters as well.
Okay.
6349, so that's the entire for Smyrna 2 Alpha. Let me do some quick math, but it does look like it's, if not, it's pretty close to the majority of Smyrna 6A. Smyrna 6A is broken out into 1, 2, 3, 4 combos. So I would have to do the math, but the bulk is in 1046, which is over 4,000.
Okay.
And based on the numbers beneath 398, 756, that seems like it's the majority of the precinct.
Okay, so we are talking roughly 9,000. And you mentioned an overflow parking lot. Is that at is that lot at the baseball?
I believe so.
fields?
I believe so.
Okay. I drive by there often, and at 64 lots, it's off of, what is that, Concord Road?
Yes.
Right. It will be another traffic nightmare if people cannot get in and out of that lot. And it's a walk from the baseball diamonds to get there. So this is not ideal. I like to envision, I'm able-bodied, I can walk easily. You have someone, 2 small kids in tow, someone disabled that may not have a handicap placard, but it still is a challenge. I'm just not comfortable with 9,000 voters, and we know all 9,000 won't come. But it could turn into another Thompson Park situation, is what I foresee. And even with additional equipment, I'm concerned about logistics of traffic. So I'm not quite sure where that puts us.
I have the same concerns as Kendall, and when I was listening, we have 64 spaces in that one site, which also would be where the poll workers would park. And, we've all learned our lesson from the Thompson situation, and we've promised our constituents, our elected officials, everybody that we would make sure that lesson learned, we were not going to do this again. And I would just hate to put ourselves in a similar predicament, you know, such a short time after what happened there. In addition to that, we're only offering 1 week of advanced in-person voting before Election Day, which means that there's less opportunity for voters to vote advanced voting. So theoretically, we might see more turnout on Election Day compared to advanced, just because we only have 1 week instead of 3 the week before. So I would feel uncomfortable with this plan, just trying to put 10,000 people or 9,000 at one place with, you know, 64 spaces on the lot and having the traffic risk of having people park at a satellite location and walk.
Okay.
This is totally random. How far
Your
is
mic,
Smyrna
Debbie.
Community
Deb.
Center? See, if I left it on. How far is the community center, Smyrna Community Center, from the Legion?
Hold on 1 second, let me pull that up.
Debbie, my guess is that it's less than a mile, or probably right at
Would
a
it
mile.
not
Well, it's really
makes
from,
sen-
how far it's from the First Baptist Church, because those are the people that we're actually co-locating, right? We're co-locating them from the First Baptist Church.
Correct.
It's almost across the street and down the block from First Baptist Church.
Okay,
I believe it said it was 0.3 miles away from.
so it's closer than the American Legion.
So, if we were to do Election Day in the community center, Smyrna Community Center, we wouldn't be co-locating. We already have an agreement going there. We wouldn't have to pay rent, and people are familiar with it. Just a random thought.
If the board would like me to have those conversations, I'm happy to do it. Like I said, when we were working on this, we were under the assumption that Smyrna Community Center was not available. It was today that we kind of found out that they were available again, so.
So, yeah,
I think that we pretty much, I'm just speaking for myself, taking a turn here, is I'm not comfortable with any co-locations at this point further. And just saying that, I don't feel, I have actually worked a poll before that was 2 separate polls, but we operated it as 2 distinct polls. We didn't combine equipment, we actually had 2 separate entrances. I would be willing to look at even that kind of a format, but I'm definitely feeling a little bit burned by the co-location format at this stage. I also think that 9,000 voters in one location, when most of those are SD 35 eligible, is really a no for me. And so I think that, I personally, I know that that puts us at a special called meeting situation this week. We all need to be in, you know, we will have to have a special called meeting and I guess that's, Daniel, we would need to notice that. So we need to look at that because we also have the issue of voter contact and voter communication and getting cards out. So I want to be clear that I'm not in favor of this, but I'm also aware that we have a voter communication situation and getting cards out. So I want to discuss what that looks like from a timeline perspective. If we don't go with this, which I'm having a hard time with, I think you can see that we all are, what are we looking at from a timeline?
Well, I think the main issue here is we don't know whether or not Smyrna Community Center can commit to that, nor do we know of any other locations that can commit to that. So that's the main thing here is we're going to have to do the research. We're going to have to get in contact. Then, of course, comes the timeline of advertising the change, then notifying the voters and having a special called meeting. So we have to keep all of those things into consideration.
Well, we definitely have, resources that we can, reach out to make sure that we can help facilitate that to happen. I think we have some motivated, officials and things of that there in Smyrna that will, do all they can to accommodate the voters, especially when you talk about SD 35 elections.
Okay. So
This also is random. I'm not exactly sure who nowadays is in charge of finding these locations, but can you make a phone call and have them make a phone call while we're still here? And,
But we still have to public notice, so we
Yeah.
still wouldn't be able to vote on that here. That's the one thing that I want to continue to bring up is, for me personally, we've also got a voter communication issue and getting the word out and public notice. So there's two things at play. I agree, maybe somebody can make a phone call and see if it's even feasible for us to consider that option. Otherwise, the other piece that I would want to talk about is not just co-locating, but actually just running two separate, I would want full sets of equipment, full staff, I would want two separate polls stood up at American Legion. That's what I would need to feel comfortable if we were going to go forward with this, to know that we had full staffing, that we were able to accommodate that level of voter turnout. Even though we don't expect it, we can't live with that anymore, I don't think. I feel like I learned my lesson there. So
I don't know that you need two full separate staffs, but like line clerks and that kind of thing. I don't know if you need duplicates everything, but certainly more than what we normally would have doing them. Only having the scanners being separate, not the whole.
I would want to stand up two polls, but that's me.
Even if we have two polls, even with that, we still have a parking concern and a traffic concern with only 64 spaces in that lot.
Yeah. Michael, I think,
We are in a
I think
conundrum.
we would be irresponsible if we didn't ask you to check into Smyrna Community Center.
Sure.
But I'm only one vote.
Can I chime in on the notice and on the special call
Please,
and all that?
yes.
So just to change the polling place, you just had to advertise it for 2 consecutive weeks in the paper. That's the notice requirement. But there's no, I remember looking at this, there's no requirement that you advertise it, and then.
We could vote and then advertise?
It's a weird, you have to read it. I mean, it does say you have to publish notice for 2 weeks. It does talk about a public hearing, but in theory, you could put it on like the certification meeting for the 18th, agenda, and go ahead and start advertising it if you, in other words, like.
But then when do our postcards go out? Not till we vote?
Not till you approve it. So, I mean, that's the thing, yeah, we're talking, it's a lot of weird, and you're allowed to change, and only in emergency circumstances, within 10 days can you change it, but that's kind of your drop dead is 10 days without an emergency. So in theory, you could go up all the way up until, December 6th, and then.
I'm just brainstorming. Can we approve Smyrna Community Center conditionally with the understanding that we don't have confirmation, and that way, if we do get confirmation, the vote's done. If we don't get confirmation, then we realize we have to vote for something else.
It's my recommendation would just, I think because you could even do an election night on the 18th. I mean, I don't see any reason to do anything tonight, because you could confirm later this week whether it's available, in the next couple of days. I mean, I think if we wanted to advertise it by Friday, we'd have to know by tomorrow.
But for the purpose of sending postcards, we have to take a vote.
Yeah. You're wasting
yeah.
a whole week on getting out.
Yeah, but what's the postcard requirement even? I don't know.
I don't know. Last year, we had several that never got their IDs, so their postcards.
And I guess when I say postcard, what I also mean is our ability to update Jarvis, MVP, you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about the full
Sure.
spectrum of when can we communicate to voters that that these, 5,000 voters,
Yeah.
because it's not a small number of
Right.
people.
Are these actions triggered by our vote?
Right.
Yep. Well, we wouldn't want to do the postcards if we aren't going to change it.
Yeah, I guess the other issue is if we're looking outside of the precinct is another challenge, because I think there's a longer time frame for establishing outside of the precinct.
If it's outside the precinct boundaries?
So, as
All
you
right.
can see, this is why we typically would handle it this way. But I think it's worth mentioning, this is for the runoff. This is for the runoff, so December 16th. So there's a little bit of time, but there's not a lot of time. And considering we also have several elections in that timeline too, it complicates it as well.
Well, we're pretty certain in a jungle primary, you're going to have a runoff with 6 candidates, right?
Sure.
I mean, I got a D in statistics, so I wouldn't want to put money on that, but I'm guessing it's pretty high probability there will be a runoff. So
It looks like it's a 30-day for a special runoff.
30-day what?
Polling place shall not be changed in the 30-day period prior to the special primary. Or
30 days?
Or runoff. I know. There's like 4 different sections in this precinct thing, and they all seem to say different things, but.
So we, on the.
Can we call the church back? Can we plead?
I believe we tried. I asked that of Kara already when that initially happened, and she did call them back, and
They're no.
Huh.
All right, so let's see, where's everybody sitting right now? Kendall, you want to start us off? Where are you thinking?
I would love to see the checklist of the items that are considered. I would feel better to make a decision, more informed. I can make a more informed decision with more information. 9,000 voters, I mean, I don't live in Smyrna, but I live close enough, and I pass here all the time. I'm not feeling good about 9,000, potentially 9,000 voters. Do you have photographs?
I don't, there are photographs. I don't have any. Like I said, they went out while we were preparing for the meeting. I just haven't had a chance to compile them for you, but I can send you the photos.
Or who has them now? Can we airdrop them or something?
The site survey team, I believe they're probably already gone home for the day. But I have them in my email. I just have to put everything together for the board.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't need to repeat what I already said, but I'm not comfortable because of the logistical risk that I feel like this entails and our lessons learned from Thompson.
Yeah, I would motion that we table this, or go into a recess till we can find out for certain that we can't get the alternative. That will be a better choice. So I'm definitely not comfortable with that, with this number going in there.
So this is sort of a question for Daniel. We have 5,000 voters who now are effectively homeless for voting precinct purposes. We have 5 members of the board that don't feel very comfortable with our current offering. I don't know if there's anything we can all do to become comfortable with this offering today. Where does that put us from a timeline perspective?
Well, we're already kind of in the emergency area of this, so I mean, there's just not really anywhere you're going to get it done 30 days before at this point if there's no approval tonight. And even, especially if we're talking about outside of the precinct, we're probably already outside of that, well outside of that timeline. It's really supposed to be done 90 days. But it's you know, there's if you look at that section, there's like 5 different timelines and rules about advertising and approval and when you have to notice and when you can make the change. And so this one, it seems to be a combination of, if you're doing it outside, it's supposed to be 90 days and you have to submit it to support something to the Secretary of State. If you're doing it on an emergency basis, if it's non-emergency, then it's like and it's a runoff. And for a special, you have to be outside of 30 days. So in theory, you could maybe do that. But it seems like there is an emergency in the sense that the polling place is telling us they can't do it, like they're not available. So that brings you to the point where if there's no precinct available, you can do it within the 30 days, but you just still have to figure out preferably within the precinct. If you can't find one within the precinct, then you just have to do the best you can and do the advertising and
Dang.
call a special call.
Could we make those emergency phone calls right now to see if we can get the community center so we can vote on it? If you know, we're in
You
that
wouldn't be able to vote, you'd have to advertise it. Either way, you're going to have to,
You gotta advertise, okay.
you can't do anything today.
Okay.
You can't come in here today and say, we're going to change it, we're going to vote on it today, and nobody really knows.
Well, we can do something today. If Smyrna Community Center is not available, if that's a hard stop, if it's 100%, we can go ahead and vote. Not knowing, leaving it in limbo is not an option, I think, because of the timing. But I also want to point out, this has been an emergency since Governor Kemp announced the date, running concurrently with another election that puts you all in a horrible situation, not to mention the 148 locations that we're having to tap again, I guess, to use their facility. So I think it's an emergency. Others may not, but I do think if a phone call could be made, we've got staff sitting right there. Somebody could maybe go try to get hold of someone from the community center, maybe.
So you're saying if community center's not available, then go ahead, you'd be wanting to go ahead and vote on the current proposal.
That would be my recommendation, because I think the community center is a logical place because it's close by. It's a frequent polling place. People are used to it. It won't make people uncomfortable, I don't believe. So I don't know that we have time to do a whole search for another location.
Well, and I'm wondering, can we approve this sort of, make a motion that's sort of like a caveat, like, we're good with this if that doesn't pan, if the Smyrna Community Center doesn't pan out? But we have to basically, should we table this till later in the meeting and see if we can make a phone call? Is that sort of where we're sitting right now?
Why is it a big deal to make a phone call? I mean, seriously.
Well, I could.
If this were
Yeah,
in a
call,
corporate board meeting and we're trying to determine.
I just feel like we should make a decision today, one way or the other. I think that's going to happen.
I think it's going
So,
to happen, okay?
I think we
mean,
should
logic
table this till later in the
needs to
meeting. It sounds like that
prevail
phone
here.
call is happening.
Yeah. Let's come back to it.
Why don't, okay, do we need a formal motion to do that? Great.
Michael, we aren't picking on you and your team. It's just once shot, what is this?
Yes,
Yeah.
that.
Once, whatever that saying is.
That saying.
It's accurate, that saying. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, yeah.
All right, so we are all comfortable with, we're going to make a phone call, and that appears to be happening, and we're going to come back to this, and we're going to move on to our old business, which is our public comment policy. And so Kendall can take it away for us.
All right. For our proposed procedures and guidance for public comment, there were a few changes included in our agenda, our packets. If you turn to section 2A, under sign-up requirement, we had discussion about changing the time period in which the sign-up sheet will be available, changing it from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. That language has been changed. And also, we corrected the language about posting on the website. And it's consistent with at least 7 days, consistent with our existing policy. And then also, language was added to have no more than 15 speakers for virtual public comment. Although we would retain discretion to change that number, that language was added. Let's see. If you look at section 2C under procedure, comments directed to the board, the third sentence, we wanted to state that speakers may forfeit their remaining time, and that language was added. The word may was added there. And then section 2H under board minutes, we discussed that the current policy, how minutes are maintained, and this section is just making it consistent. And those are all of the changes incorporating our comments from our previous meeting. Are there any questions or additional feedback?
I want to address something that's come up a couple of times, I think, both in our meeting and with the public today regarding virtual public comment. I was actually approached by the county manager and the director of communications for the county that we will no longer be able to offer virtual public comment following a 30-day window. So that's where we sit right now, is that I believe that this board, I should speak for myself, I do support virtual public comment, but I believe that the county is indicating that they no longer are able to offer that to us as something that we can use. So I do know that the technology is there. I don't have a lot of good reasons other than that's what I was asked, was to eliminate that from our offerings. And I just wanted to put that out there in the public. We do believe that we're still going to leave that in our procedure and policy moving forward, so that we, if it does become available again, that we would be able to pick back up and use it. But otherwise, I do, I support the idea of virtual public comment personally.
Yes, and if the public is looking, here, that's section 2A, that second paragraph, that paragraph begins, in the event the board chooses to offer a virtual option. So it's my position that we leave it in.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I am strongly in favor of keeping virtual public comment because it is a form of accessibility to the public, to our voters. If we have our choice, we would continue with it. I would encourage anyone who is unhappy that it might be removed to reach out to the Board of Commissioners, because I believe they're the ones that are going to be deciding on this. So if you feel strongly, make sure you give them that feedback too, because I agree with the feedback that we should keep it.
Well, we could do what Fulton does, if they stick to their guns on that. And Fulton entertains emails and then reads the emails. And I think theirs was due to some kind of technical issue. I can't remember. But that's what their Board of Commissioners do.
Fulton's board has virtual as well.
What's that?
Fulton's Board of Commissioners, they have virtual as well. Virtual public comment.
They do, but they've had technical issues before, and they've had periods where they just said, rather than no virtual, email and we'll read them.
They do both, yes.
Or if people don't have, I guess, internet access to call in virtually, who knows? But it's one option as well, rather than just no.
I'm for the virtual comment, to keep that, and also I'll be remiss not to say, Happy Veterans Day to any veterans that we have there online or in the house. Thank you for your service, and as a vet, a disabled, service-connected disabled vet, some vets go through a lot of things, and not only veterans, but everyone that votes, right? Whether it's mental issues, whether it's disabilities, to get them to be here in person. So definitely need to have that option, available.
All right.
Thanks. Are we ready for a vote? Is
I
there a
think we
motion?
are. Yeah, go for it. No,
Is there a motion?
you can make the motion.
Oh.
It's your policy. So go for
I
it.
will do that. I make a motion that we adopt the Cobb County Board of Elections and Registration Procedures and Guidance for Public Comment as contained in Exhibit B.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? And with no opposition, the public comment policy passes 5-0. Thank you for that work, Kendall. That was great. And Daniel? I see that we have returned. Do we want to revisit the public hearing before we move on? Yes, no, maybe? No?
Let's do, why don't we do these,
To finish up the
new business, and then we could sort of maybe recess and let Michael talk to.
Okay, that sounds fair. Great. Our new business, we have 2 items regarding our calendar. Oh, no, we're going to deal with advance in-person voting first. So that falls back to you, Michael, for the runoff advance in-person voting schedules.
Okay, do you want to do these together or separately?
Let's take them separate.
Okay. Okay. The first proposal for advanced voting hours and locations for the December 2nd runoff. The office is proposing our main office for November. This is a complicated one because of the holiday. So we're offering up the Saturday and Sunday to make up for the Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. So we would start voting on Saturday, November 22nd from 9 to 5, and Sunday, November 23rd from 12 to 5, and then finish off the 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. No voting from Wednesday, November 27th through December 1st. Of course, that's the Thanksgiving holiday.
I think I was just said the Thursday, November 1st.
Oh, sorry, Thursday.
Are there questions about the advance in-person voting schedule?
You mean you guys have a problem working on Thanksgiving?
I did it in 2022, so I can do it again.
Oh, my goodness.
So this gives us 5 full days of early in-person voting for the Marietta Wards 3 and 5 runoff, correct?
That's correct.
And we're looking at doing that at the main office with a drop box. This looks good to me. So anybody else have comments or questions about this particular one, or do we want to go forward with a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the in-person advance voting for Marietta, the municipal elections, December 2nd.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? The vote carries 5-0, and the advance in person for December 2nd runoff is approved. The next schedule is for the Senate District 35 special election runoff on December 16th.
Okay, for December 16th, SD 35 runoff, we are proposing Smyrna Community Center. That was a development of this morning. I think we initially had Taylor Bronner House, and it was no longer available. Graciously, Smyrna came back and worked out with us so we can use Smyrna Community Center. There is still construction going on, but we have word from them that all the roads will be open during voting. They'll close them off during the weekend, but during the hours of voting, there won't be any blockages from the construction. We are proposing December 8th through December 12th. That's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I know the board kind of had some discussions talking about voting on the weekend before. I don't see the reason for it. We're hoping to maybe come to a compromise from 7 to 7. So we'll offer up 7 to 7 from December 8th to December 12th.
I feel like those of us, we've started to talk about this, so I just wanted to know if anybody else had any questions. I feel like we've had some one-on-one conversations, so I think this works. Kendall, I know you had some communications. You're good? Okay. Stacy?
Obviously, I prefer Saturday or Sunday with with us, and I believe Smyrna Community Center is not available the weekend before. And if not, I thought the other arrangement was 7 to 7. So we're.
Yes, that's
okay.
correct. That's what I'm saying. It's just
Okay.
the flyer itself doesn't reflect
Okay,
that. So
good.
just for the record, we're proposing 7 to 7 for December 8th through December
Yeah.
12th in lieu of the Saturday and Sunday.
And-
I think this was printed
Got
before
it.
we all
And
had that conversation.
When you said you didn't see the reason for weekend voting,
Yes.
what is that reason?
So, well, one is consistency. Typically, we only do weekend voting if a holiday or some reason there's not voting during the week. I believe I sent all of the flyers previously, dating back, I think I made it as far back as 2023. But just considering the amount of voting that's been taking place, the amount of strain on the staff, we kind of bounce back and forth on what that would look like, what we would have to do. I think Monday through Friday is plenty of time for the runoff, and it's consistent with what we've done in the past. And it won't cause any confusion. I know we talked about having at the main office for one day and then bouncing back, and I think we're trying to do too much, and it can get really confusing to our voters, so we just stick with consistency Monday through Friday.
I just want to say in general, I am always team vote Saturday, Sunday. In this instance, I'm okay with the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but I think in the interest of voters who lead different lives, I mean, we work Monday through Friday. A lot of people are unavailable to vote during those hours. So I think it's always best to err on the side of more access to include a weekend. So I would just like to keep that in mind, that we're here to make our elections more accessible rather than less. But I will support, I appreciate the change from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I think people who can't find time in a 12-hour, 5-day period of time, 12-hour per day, 5 days, have the option of absentee ballots. What is that cutoff date?
I have no idea. I don't have that in front of me right
That's
now.
okay, I can
A lot of
look it
dates
up.
right now.
Okay. I'm good with this, and I think, appreciate the 7 to 7 versus the 8 to 6. I know you guys are tired.
I just want to say a big thank you. I know we all had sort of some back and forth, and I think for our SD 35 voters, I think this is a nice schedule. I think Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, and back at the Smyrna Community Center where those voters like to vote. So I really appreciate you guys taking a look at getting us back at Smyrna Community Center. And I think, you know, having staff go out there today to look at it and assess the construction and what's going on, I feel confident that this will be a good early vote location and that our voters will show up there. As we've seen, they like to vote, which is great. And I know this is a heavy lift. I know this is the home stretch, and I know this is a heavy lift. But again, 7 to 7 is something I appreciate. I think that's the kind of thing that will appeal to working voters. They can get there on their way to work without being late, hopefully. So I think this is a good compromise, knowing that we didn't have a Saturday option at this location. I just want to be clear that that wasn't an option for us here. But we do also have the drop box here now. Our voters can request absentee ballots right now. So, hopefully everybody, we do a good advertising campaign, let people know that they can vote early, vote by mail, and that we also will have those election day options for them. Those are 21 precincts for SD 35, correct?
21, yes.
21 precincts.
with, depending
With some
on-
of the co-locations,
Yeah.
but 21 total precincts worth of voters will be coming out to vote. I think it's close to 90,000 voters. So I think a week from 7 to 7 should accommodate them, and that's a good, I think that's a good settling point for me.
Sure, and I just did want to add one thing, and I think I speak for the staff when I say this, where it's not a matter of we don't want to do weekends or, they think there's plenty of time for them during the week. It's just more of a matter of consistency. And if this is what the board wants moving forward of, we start on a Saturday and we do that for a runoff, we just want to know so we're not having to figure it out every election. And go back to the drawing board to, adjust this or find this location. So if we could just if you guys need to form a policy that, this is what is expected of us when we're doing voting, just so we can have an easier time making it happen. It's just really difficult, especially given the timeline we're on right now.
I think that's a really good point. I think we, as a board, I've now been on this board for, through a few different compositions, and I think that's something we sort of struggled to settle on. And then this year, obviously, we had a robust amount of elections with all different types of compositions. Some were countywide, some were not. So I think we do need to sort of look at what the different types, like there's runoffs that are special elections, there are runoffs that are countywide. Like we sort of need to look at what that breakdown is and what the expectation is. But I think we could assume, based upon the current composition, that we are going to be looking for weekends, and we are going to be looking for mostly 7 to 7 from a consistency and communication standpoint.
Yeah. And I don't know, this is a question, crazy question. So when we know about the elections in advance, do we have planning sessions? We do?
Absolutely. Before we even have the schedule, we're having planning sessions. So, we're trying to get these places in place before in months in advance. The problem with that, though, is we make plans too in advance and things happen. And then, of course, if that's the circumstances, we're going to have to pivot one way or the other. But, for us, just the sense of consistency and expectations of what we want to do or how we're going to move forward, I think that would mean the difference in the workload and the stress and the burden that comes with us having to pivot last minute.
And I think from a collaboration standpoint, what I would ask is maybe if you guys could send us a recommendation for what you would like, not right now.
Sure.
But a recommendation for, okay, here's the different types of elections, and here's what we would recommend looking at from a policy perspective, and then maybe we could build off of that, since you're the ones that are really implementing that. I think that might make sense. I know that's another thing on the plate, but we can push that out to, later next year.
I think we need to do a data analysis, number one.
Absolutely.
Okay, we can look at certain elections, but no election is the same. And I think you have to look at it over a course of several different elections, several different years. The number of elections we've been required to hold this year is unprecedented, and I'm going to guess no one can top the number that we have had to do. And that is how we came to Monday through Friday with an 8 to 5 instead of a 7 to 7, because of the large number of elections. But I reiterate, if 5 days isn't enough for a smaller election, there's always absentee. So I would like to move to approve this with the modification of 7 to 7.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been approved and properly seconded to accept the advanced voting hours and locations for Senate District 35. I want to just clarify that it will be from 7 to 7, Monday through Friday. All those in favor? Thank you, and the vote carries. The advanced voting locations, hours and locations has passed for Senate District 35. We have a little bit of quick board business to handle on the calendar. If everybody can look at the 2025 calendar for me. So according to the State Election Board rule, we had initially decided that we were going to move our pre-certification meetings to 4 p.m. Daniel, you might be able to cite the rule for me, but we actually have to have them at 3 p.m., correct? That's the latest?
That's correct. The rule specifically says no later than 3 p.m.
So for the two pre-certification meetings for the SD 35 for Friday, November 21st and Friday, December 19th. We need to move those to 3 PM
Hold the phone.
unless there's a waiver that's approved.
There will be a waiver. I mean, I've gotten commitments for the 3 voters from the SCB. So I fully believe we have the waiver.
Okay.
We won't be required to have the meeting. And I think some of the conversations we had earlier, you were talking about doing a meeting virtually.
We
The
can't
wa-
do a meeting virtually.
I understand that. That's where I was
Yeah.
going. But my waiver didn't include a virtual meeting. It included a complete waiver, and with the exception of getting access to the documents.
Correct.
Okay.
I think when I spoke with Daniel, his recommendation was that we approve the change to 3 o'clock with the caveat that they would be removed pending the approval of the waiver by the SEB, so that we don't have to have a special called meeting to come back again and take them off.
In case there's a mutiny on Thursday? Yeah, okay. That's fine.
And you can cancel the special called meeting. I mean, you wouldn't have to necessarily come back and you can cancel a meeting. If the reason for a special called meeting goes away, then you can cancel the special called meeting. But it's better to just go ahead and take care of it today. Approve it with the condition that if the waiver is granted by the SEB, then those meetings won't be necessary.
And the waiver was submitted for all 3, correct? That was submitted, the waiver was to cover SD 35's pre-certification on the 21st, the December 5th pre-certification for November 4th, and the December 19th, right? It was for all 3?
That's the way it was written. Debbie didn't actually bring up the municipal runoff in the hearing, but the way the petition was, at least I wrote it that way.
Right.
To include all 3. And technically, if we want to get really, these are municipal elections, and I don't know that the SEB can really make us have a pre-cert meeting for the municipal runoff anyways. But the way the petition was written, if they just pass it the way it was written, it has all 3 pre-cert meetings.
That was slipped in there.
Well, I thank you for that. So we.
My mistake, I could have sworn it was all 3 SD 35.
Well, okay, yes. So then the other thing I want to just sort of pose is that we had moved, I just want to remind everyone and have this, because Reggie had brought this up, is that we had moved the Monday certification meetings for SD 35, they're at the election office, to 4 PM. Do we want to keep those at 4 PM? Because it's sort of out of consistency in terms of we've been doing all of our certification meetings at 3.
I'm fine with 4.
4?
I'm fine with 4.
Reggie? Okay, so we can, Debbie,
I'm not fine with 4. I like consistency because I think it confuses the public, but okay.
okay, so the motion that we need to, Daniel, can you craft our motion for us on this
Yeah,
one?
and I just want to clarify, you're saying the 4 PM would be for the November 24th and the December 22nd certification meetings. Because
Which- Yes.
December 24th.
Second.
December 22nd and November
Oh,
24th.
okay.
And then the certification for sort of what would be the regular meeting date would still be at 3 PM on December 8th. Because that's also technically a certification meeting from the municipal runoff.
The December 8th one, we never altered. That would stay 3 PM.
That's right.
And that's in this room for certification.
Yes.
Which is part of why I wanted to bring it back up to the board, that we were basically moving 2 things to 4 PM that now sort of we're out of step with the rest of the calendar, but SD 35's out of step with the calendar anyway.
Right. If you wanted a motion, I think you would just, you would ask for a motion to approve the updated calendar attached as Exhibit E with the condition that the 3 pre-certification meetings listed for the remainder of November and December may be canceled if the state election board grants the waiver.
Great. Exhibit E, yes. Does somebody want to so moved that?
So moved.
And is there a second for moving the meetings to 3 PM, waiving them if they get canceled by the SEB?
I second.
Great. Are we all clear on what we're voting for? Is there any further discussion? We're moved and properly seconded? Debbie?
No?
Good? All right, let's take a vote. The motion carries 4-1 with Ms. Fisher as a no vote. Next up is Exhibit F. This is our 2026 calendar. Everyone will notice that we are back in the Board of Commissioners room with 3 p.m. meetings on the second Monday of each month. This is effectively, we weren't really able to work out an evening meeting option, but we're still going to plow away at that potentially, but for right now, we've got to get a 2026 calendar together. So I wanted everybody to have all the dates. There's 2 things to note here. Tuesday, May 26th, you'll notice that that is a certification meeting. It's not on Monday. Monday is Memorial Day. So I did confirm with the Secretary of State that the certification will be moved to Tuesday. Right now, you'll notice it says the Elections Office. This room is not available due to the BOC meetings. I don't feel that the Election Office is probably the right location for us to do the primary certification, but we don't have an alternate location right now. We're still researching that. We may have to come back and amend this.
Did you check into the 3rd floor conference room?
I believe that I offered that option, and Daniel recommended the Civic Center, and both of those options, I believe the staff were going to look into. We don't have an answer yet.
You know where else might be a lot more convenient than the Civic Center? And they're usually very accommodating, is the Marietta City Council meeting room.
And I know
It's
somebody
right
who might be able
around
to help us with
It's
that.
literally right around the corner.
I'd have to look. That may be their committee meeting nights if it's a Tuesday
Tuesday?
night. That's usually this is the last Tuesday of month is their committee meetings.
Oh, how convenient.
I don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't checked
Okay.
it for May.
Well, maybe if it isn't, because that's so close to here.
For today's purposes, we don't have a location that we can move it to.
We got plenty of time to change it.
Exactly. So, but I felt
Moving
like it was
along.
important to get this out
Yeah.
for other purposes and for the public's purposes. The other meeting that I did want to point out was that for the May 19th primary, for June, actually, for the June 16th primary runoff, that pre-certification on that Friday is actually a federal holiday of Juneteenth. And that's, because it's a federal holiday, we'll also be shifting the UACAVA and provisional deadline to Monday. So we will need to shift our schedule for pre-certification and certification by a day. So you'll notice Monday, June 22nd at 3 p.m. is pre-certification, and then the regular meeting and certification meeting is June 23rd, which is a Tuesday. This room is also not available. So we really have 2 meetings that we will effectively need to change the location. But for the purposes of this calendar, those are the dates and the places and the locations that we would approve today. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I did, both Michael and I did check in with the Secretary of State, and on their final calendars, those are officially moved. So I think we might have pointed it out to them. Questions, comments, thoughts? And remember, I think that, I do believe that from a public access perspective, we do want our certifications to be somewhere other than the office, since it's not the most accommodating for the public. But I'll continue to research that. If there's no additional comments, we can entertain a motion to approve the 2026 calendar. We can get that in at under 5 o'clock. Yes, no, maybe?
I make a motion to approve our 2026 meeting dates and time as contained in Exhibit F.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? And the 2026 calendar is approved, 5-0. Daniel, should we take a short
You
recess?
just do like a, yeah, 5-minute recess, 3 minutes. How long do you do, 5 minutes? Yeah, just a short recess.
We will take a short recess at 4:54. If everybody could be back in here at 4:59. 5 o'clock now.
That's timely.
It is 5 PM, and this Board of Elections meeting is back in session from our little recess. I think we will take up the public hearing regarding the co-location.
So we were approved to use it. That will be the second time today that Smyrna Community Center has been gracious enough to help us out in a jam. So thank you, Marcus, for reaching out to the city manager. Did you talk to Ms. Korn? Okay. So now we're just trying to decide whether we can vote on it without having it advertised for 2 weeks.
I just love giving legal opinions on the fly. No, so here's, let me walk you through the challenges here. And so my understanding is that this one's not, is this one also outside the precinct?
I thought you said some of the voters from 6A, I thought, maybe not.
Well, so the question is whether the location of the community center is within the precinct, because if we're locating the precinct outside of 6A, which is the precinct that's needing to be moved, then
2A.
Oh, 2A. So I'm thinking it's still outside of 2A. But I think either way that, because you're typically, the default rule is that you're not supposed to change ones to outside of the precinct within 90 days of the election. But then there's other provisions that talk about emergency events and things like that. But the standard rule it says a polling place shall not be changed in the 30-day period prior to any special runoff or special election runoff, except in the discretion of the superintendent when an emergency or an event occurs during such time period which renders the polling place unavailable. So, generally you're not supposed to do it within 30 days, which is what, 2 days from now. But then there's also the other catch around it is that it says that except in the case of the emergency or unavoidable event occurring within 10 days of the primary election, they shall not change any polling place until the notice has been published for once a week for 2 consecutive weeks in the legal organ. So again, we've got 2 provisions that don't seem to work together. They're not really they're not really well written. They just seem to keep adding provisions within here, and they didn't clean up all of them together. So what a shock! Welcome to your Georgia election code. My recommendation would that you would go ahead and say that you would go ahead and authorize the advertising to take place now, and then you can approve it at your, so it's our meeting, I think actually you could do it 2 weeks from today at the 24th, and that'd be inside the 30 days, but we have an event that makes that other place not available. So I think that's your argument, is to say, we're gonna go ahead and advertise it for 2 weeks. They can put it in the paper starting tomorrow. They'll advertise Friday, the next 2 Fridays, and then that Monday you can approve it and you'll be good to go.
All right, so timeline is Monday the 24th for approval.
Yes.
And then is that, we cannot send out postcards till then?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to send out, I can't come up with.
If we don't have to, I don't know what, but I want to communicate
Right.
with our voters.
You have to post signs. Let me tell you that.
How about this, when can we update Jarvis, right, so that the voters know that their polling day, their election day polling, because that's where probably the majority of people go.
On the 24th.
We have to wait till the 24th.
I think so you can approve it.
Okay. Is everybody
Because
comfortable with that?
when we don't have this timeline, this crunch, there have been times where we have gone ahead, let the board go ahead and make the motion and then advertise it afterwards, taking the position that as long as we've advertised it for 2 Fridays before the election, then that counts. But the way I'm reading it is it's saying you may not change it until then. So does that mean when you vote on it, or does that mean you could vote? Because I know in the past you've taken a vote that says we're going to change it and it'll take effect, before the election. So it's, this would be the cleanest way to do it. I know y'all would like to go ahead and get as much notice as possible, but I think to comply with 21-265A, you need to go ahead and advertise it for 2 weeks and then vote it on the Monday.
So, Michael,
Yes,
does Jarvis have phone numbers?
sometimes.
Is it possible for you to get someone else to run a report for the voters in 2A? To see how many phone numbers we have, because as far as notification, I think we ought to put the Cobb County app to work. They do have texting capability. Kendall, I think texting was one of your priorities for, this would be a good trial run for texting on notifications.
We can certainly run that report. However, I can't commit to anything without talking to Director Cavett first about the app and if they can do it and all of that.
But you could give me a number, right? And before you can talk to him, you should have a number and say it would only be 3,421 active voters.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
Right?
yeah, all I'm saying
Okay.
is I haven't spoke with him yet, so I don't know if he
What's
would do it.
taking you so long?
Yeah, just a little busy.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if you could find that out, I mean, it could be it's too expensive, but might be cheaper to go ahead and do the postcards.
Sure, I can definitely talk with him about it.
Okay, all right, great.
And Mike, I'm just thinking out loud here. So right now, with Smyrna, we're good to go with Smyrna Community Center, right?
Yes, sir.
So we still have the American Legion, right?
That's already a polling place,
That's
yes.
already a polling place, right? All right, so we're gonna run those two?
Yeah, so that will remain as Smyrna 6A, but Smyrna 2A will relocate to Smyrna Community Center.
Daniel, can you give us the language for the motion we need to make? Because I think we're good.
Temporarily.
Yeah, I think you would just move to authorize the advertisement of the precinct change for 2A.
Temporarily.
Temporary precinct change for 2A to the Smyrna Community Center for the December
16th.
SD35 special runoff.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Thank you, Marcus. That was a good save.
And the motion carries 5-0. Smyrna Community Center will be the location for SD 35, December 16th, Smyrna 2A voters. Temporarily.
We're advertising.
We're
that, and
advertising
then- And then
that.
do the final vote on the 24th.
Okay, great. We are on to board member comments. And Board Member Efrat, I know you need to leave. Do you want to make some quick comments?
The only comment I was going to make was about, my feelings towards virtual public comment. I already mentioned it. So again, I think the majority of this board is in favor of keeping it. Make your feedback known to the Board of Commissioners if you feel that way.
Go for it.
Will be helpful. I am a voter in Mableton. Thompson Park is my precinct. I have voted there for years. This past election, it did not run smoothly. I was there, although I voted in advance. I would just like to let the public know that finding locations has been a challenge, and we voted to co-locate 2 precincts there, provided the information that we were given, and there's always a wild card with elections. It was a perfect storm, greater turnout than expected, but I just want to let the public know, or our voters in Cobb County know that that you expect better, you deserve better, and that we are working on preventing problems like that in the future. And I would love to reiterate that here in Georgia, we have the opportunity to vote in advance. Not every jurisdiction provides that, as well as we have no excuse absentee voting, which I want to encourage voters to take advantage of as well. And also, I would love to maintain virtual public comment as well.
No, I just want to just reiterate, hey, thank you, for all the work the staff's done. Thank you for allowing us to go in recess. I think what we voted on is a better, viable option, for that election. And again, just want to thank you guys for all the work that you do. So thanks for the assist.
I just want to thank all of you, and Michael, especially you. You truly should get some kind of a cape and maybe a medal or something because of all the things we've thrown at you in the last 6 weeks. 6 weeks? Is that right? Maybe 8. And I have to tell the public what I witnessed when I went to. Normally, I don't go to the provisional tabulation. I'd rather watch paint dry. But we had a couple of the Marietta races that were being questioned, and I thought, well, with everything else, what else do you have to do? Why don't you go watch? And I watched Marcus and Michael both, as well as everybody who was in there working to make sure we got them processed as soon as possible. And several people were in there observing as well. And it's rare that you get somebody that is there to seriously watch over your shoulder, which they were there to do, that gives such a great compliment. And Mayor Tumblin's law partner, and I believe the other guy was a city councilman, they both said how polite you were, Marcus, how attentive you were to their requests and their questions, and Michael, how responsive you were, and that they were both very, very impressed. And I just wanted to, again, reiterate their thanks as well as my thanks. You all do a really stellar job and a hard job, and thank you to all of you.
All right, deep breath. We're in the home stretch here, but before we close, I just have a few words. I want to take a moment to express my very deepest gratitude to our election staff, poll workers, and volunteers who worked tirelessly during last week's election while simultaneously running the advance voting for the Senate District 35 special election. The dedication and professionalism you display, often under long hours and high pressure, make our democratic process possible. So thank you. We also recognize that some voters experienced delays and logistical challenges at certain polling sites, including Thompson Park Community Center and Taylor Bronner House. We sincerely apologize for those frustrations and are committed to learning from these experiences to strengthen our operations moving forward. If there are community leaders or elected officials, clergy, or residents who have suggestions for Election Day precincts or early vote sites, please reach out to our office. We need your help. And thank you to Cobb County voters for showing up and participating. The turnout in Cobb County is inspiring. This board and our elections team are proud to serve you. We welcome your feedback and look forward to seeing many of you in the upcoming SD 35 special election and Marietta ward runoffs. And the last thing I just want to say really quick is one of the things that Kendall and I talked about sort of on our way in today was how we really need to do some sort of staff appreciation event from this board to you all. We are very, very grateful. And I know sometimes it doesn't always seem collaborative, but I want you to know that everything that we do is in that spirit of collaboration. We are partners in this, and we want to find ways to better express that. So in the light that we can do better for voters, we can also do better for you all and making sure that you experience our gratitude. So thank you all, and I think That closes out the public portion of today's meeting. Daniel, do we need to have an executive session?
It'd be a short one to discuss pending litigation, and then I think there may have been a short personnel discussion that also needs to happen.
Okay. So we won't be taking any votes, so we will be turning off the stream just for the public who's asked me about that. We will let our technology staff leave for the afternoon, but do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
I second.
I'm going to say the reason, motion has to say the reason, so for pending litigation and for personnel matters.
Pending litigation and for personnel.
I second.
All right, great.
Great. We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor? The motion passes 4-0 with Board Member Efrat absent. And thank you all for your time today. We appreciate it. We are now in executive session at 5:16 p.m.